So, it's been a while since I made a video, and I thought I'd come back and make some videos. But before I did, I just wanted to give you sort of an update on the shop. Shop is right where I want it to be for now. There are obviously more projects that I could do, and I'll talk about those in a second. But we've gotten the outfeed table / workbench finished. We got the miter saw station finished. So those two things are done. The other project that we did was some dust collection. And I think I like the dust collection as it is, but I think it could be a little better. We'll figure out a way to make it better. But as you can see, we've got dust collection to all 4 of the stationary tools. So the dust collection to the table saw, and this complex for the bandsaw, the router, and the sander. The sander's dust collection stinks, but that port is just not in the right place. I'm trying to figure out how to make a hood. It's probably going to be one of my next projects. But for now, the dust collection to the table saw, the bandsaw, and the router works pretty well. It's all on a remote, so just pick it up and go. Next couple things I'm probably going to do, probably going to get like some cheap plastic bins and get rid of all of these bulky cases, especially this one. This one's huge. That's just a biscuit joiner. It's just massive. Pass load is pretty big, but the pass load tool is pretty big, so that's okay. And I'm mounted up underneath there, and then you can just slide them out. I'll show you what I was thinking about for that. Probably going to enclose the router table, because boy, is that thing loud, and I want a place to store my router bits. But I designed this a while ago to hold our Nerf racks, and so it's just a 1x piece of wood, and the plastic slides on it. And because the plastic is pretty smooth, it slides pretty. I mean, you can give it a shove and it'll go. And if it's clear plastic, I'll be able to see what's inside. So that's the next project probably. And then this is the thing that has been vexing me. It's a slop sink. I want to put in right there, but it's going to take a lot more plumbing than we thought for a whole bunch of reasons. So workshop is sort of at a nice point. I designed a brace. I don't know exactly if it'll come out, but I designed a brace that has a cam, so I can clamp something on this entire surface using the pin on the Eclipse vise, the vise that Paul Sellers uses, and then the little brace I made, and I can clamp something 4 feet wide if I need to. But that's where we're at right now. My old stool is right there. The boys destroyed it. This is my new stool. It was a cheap one I got on President's Day from Harbor Freight, and it works fine. So I don't know exactly where I was, so I'm just going to go through and talk about some of the stuff that I've read in here recently. So let's start with this guy. This guy is the Civivi Elementum 2, and this knife is a giant, massively thick, like why is it so thick, button lock version of the Elementum. And the Elementum was a good knife. I like the Elementum. But, I mean, we're talking about something that is not marginally thinner than a 3-layer Swiss Army knife. That's just a massively thick knife. And like the CJRB Pyrite is like this thick, right? It's like this knife without this extra scale. So I'm not exactly sure why the knife had to be so thick, but the flipping action is great. The detent is great, as with all button locks. Once you depress the button, there's no contact point between, there's a very small contact point between the tang of the blade and the lock itself. And as a result, the action is just, I mean, like you can like, if I'm holding the button down, I can get it to like wiggle. So that's some nice action. The knife is still fine. I mean, it's still a good knife. It still fits in your hand. And like some people, when I posted it on Instagram, said, oh, it'll fit better in your hand because it's so thick. But I'm a big fan of thin knives, as we'll get to in a second. And this is not a thin knife. So Weird that they went in this direction. Like the button lock, hate the extra thickness. Not exactly sure why it's necessary. Another knife that came in for review, I think I might have put this in a video. This is the We Knives High Fin, and let me tell you, this knife is fantastic. It is so thin and slicey. Look at that grind. That is what you call a hollow grind. I mean, they get it so paper thin behind the edge. As a result, this is one of the slicier knives I have, even though it's not like, you know, ergonomics only design. There is some artistic flair here. It is still a great slicer and a really great knife. The action is just dialed in. I mean, like, you can do the gravity drop thing. It is really good. I like this knife. And the finish that the We Knives put on here with this bronzed We symbol and the sort of bronze and blue stone-washed handle is outstanding. I love Michael Gavik's designs, and this is a really cool knife. I think they might be sold out. I don't think they released a ton of these, and it's a shame because this is a 3-inch blade, and it cuts like a demon, so that's a good thing. Another thing that came in recently for review is this. This is the Raylight vostied collaboration, and this is actually the Rook, and it is a 1CR 123A battery, and it has a triple emitter. And unlike a lot of the triples, this can hold the high, which is 1800 lumens, for a legitimate amount of time. I think it's like 40 minutes. So I don't think you could actually hold the light if it had been at 1800 lumens for 40 minutes. But in theory, the emitters can go that far. So really an impressive runtime for the high. And it's not one of those cheaty highs where it's, you know, 90 seconds and then it drops off. The other thing is the light tail stands perfectly. There are light escapes on this thing. I mean, it's got everything you'd want in a light. As I wrote in the review, if you wanted a knife, or if you wanted a light that was basically at, you know, the same form factor and a lot of the features of the Boss 35, but you couldn't wait for the material or you couldn't justify the price, this is a really good light. This is one of the best, if not the best, clicky 123As on the market. So take a look at this. This is a great flashlight for, I think it's like 70 bucks. The other thing that I got in for review, and this is after watching a British guy, I can't remember his name. I wish I could remember his name. It's so terrible. A British guy was doing a review about making an Altoids tin survival kit. And then he also made another video about trying to get the knife down to, or trying to get the weight of his EDC down below 5 ounces, so less than the Skeletool. And this is the knife he chose, and it is fantastic. It is mega thin. I mean, we were talking super mega thin. This is my custom Pioneer, which I love. It's a great multi-tool. But if you wanted something to be as thin as possible and still offer a lot of utility, you're going to be hard-pressed to beat this Alox Bantam. This is a great little tool. In fact, you know, I used to ask people, like, what's the tool you'd give to everybody? And the answer used to be the Cadet. I'd give them this instead. And the reason why is you get the good, you know, pen blade from Swiss Army Knife, which is always great. But here is the secret weapon of the Alox Bantam. And this is the combo tool, and technically the nomenclature in the Swiss Army Knife community is this the combo tool 8491. So this is the combo tool that you'll find on 84 millimeter and 91 millimeter Swiss Army knives. And it is excellent. And not only do you get a little bit of prying action right there, you can open cans. You can also use, you can open beer bottles. You can also use it as a can opener because it's just sharp enough to go through the metal. It's a little bit of a wire stripper, but here is the really cool thing. If you hold it at an angle, let me see if I can find a screw. I use mainly Robertson screws, so this is not the normal screw that I'm looking for. Let me see if I can find. So here's a Phillips screw. If you take the Phillips screw, and let's say this is the Phillips screw, and you turn this at an angle, you now have a perfect screwdriver to use on Phillips. So it can do flathead like that and Phillips when held at an angle. And it really does lock in. I mean, it's super deep in there. I mean, you're getting some real purchase. This is not going to come out. So that little multi-tool is significantly better than the one like, let me see if I can find it on the Alox. I like it significantly better than this one. I'd love to trade this out. But, you know, the reason this one works is because it's complemented by, you know, a purpose-built can opener, and that gives you a lot of functionality. I still like this knife if I'm like going out for the day and it has to be people friendly. And this is like, you know, my kid's birthday. This is my everyday carry for a kid's birthday. But this is a really extraordinary tool, and I love the 8491 combo tool. It's great. And this is, as with all Victorinox stuff, super cheap. This is like 26 bucks. The Amazon does not have the Alox version, and the celluloid version is a little thicker, so I go with this one. You probably have to get it from a knife specialty store. The last thing I wanted to go through, and I know this video is a little long, is this. This is the Quark 3, and this was technically the Quark 3 with the 16540 or 16550 battery, but Jason released a body tube so that you could do CR123As. So this is that longer, you know, thinner battery. It was kind of a weirdo battery because I think that was the only light on the market that used that battery. It was basically the length of an 18650 but thinner around. So kind of like an extra long AA. But with the new body tube, he's shrunk it down considerably. And now you have, you know, one of the smallest clickies in the CR123A form factor, because not only is it not that long, in fact, if you take off the tail standing shroud, it's shorter than the Rook, which is about as short as you can get, but it's also pretty small around, and it really does work. It's a full, you know, really good, nice, deep reflector. And the other thing is, and I'll show you this in a second, I'm going to set it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't do it long enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ah! Anyway, you can do mode memory. I just can't do it while I'm recording. But this is a great little light, and the release of the body tube lets you Lego to your heart's content. And I love Lego flashlights. They are my favorite thing about those old style Surefires. And it's really sad that Surefire got away from doing that. But, you know, why would you buy a new flashlight when you could just buy a piece of a body tube for 30% the cost? So obviously you only do this if you really want your consumers to be hooked into your system, as opposed to just making them buy other lights. And I think that if you're an enthusiast grade company like 47s, that probably makes sense. If you're not, like, and I think unfortunately by this point Surefire is not, then I think that, you know, making them buy another light is probably the way to go in terms of profit. But really great little compact light. This is one you can't buy for some reason. You can only build. So you got to buy a light and then buy another part. But if, you know, if Jason wanted to sell these and, you know, put the clip on, I don't think anybody would complain, because this is a great little light. It also reminds me just how clever this Delrin shroud is. It's like a little ring. You just snap it in place, and now your light can tail stand like a champ. Great little upgrade or side grade. If you're looking for something, you know, a cheap way to make your light more versatile, I think the body tube was 10 bucks. So that is the Sweet Stuff Saturday for today, April 8th, 2023.